Virtual anime girls playing your favorite titles. The voices behind the heroes. Today on Main Game.
Hello and welcome back to Main Game, the show where we get vocal and virtual with the best in video game news and releases. I'm your host, Eva.
And I'm your co-host, Lewis Larkin from Kakuchopurei. And this episode is going to be a good one if you're a fan of characters and charisma.
That's right. This week's episode is going to be about live streamers, but with a twist, a virtual twist. It's also going to take a look at voice actors in video games, both from our humble country and in the international scene.
But we'd rather not spoil the whole show through our intro alone. So let's dive right into our first segment, Lowdown.
We only have so much time in a day. It's hard to play all the games all the time, right?
Yes, I agree, but I feel like you're guessing at something, Eva.
Well, if I don't have time to play a game or don't have a specific console or device to play a specific game, it's easy to just go online and watch someone else do it for you. Usually by someone funny or maybe someone skillful or even someone who is easy on the eyes. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more.
Ah, yes, live streaming. Watching live streams of someone prolific is a great way to keep up to date with games and trends, as well as get some good free entertainment. They're either full of skills or comedic in nature. The best in the business make the concept of watching other people play games a regular pastime for many. And if you like them enough, you can support them in their endeavor with a little donation or by buying their merchandise.
But there's a way to take that one step further. Imagine, if you will, having virtual anime characters playing games you love and similarly entertaining you. Here is a segment on the wonderful and weird world of VTubers.
In this age of video gaming, it is normal to watch other people play them from anywhere you please. Your house, your workplace, mama stalls, the can. Most likely, you're watching your favorite human presenter on either Twitch or YouTube. Either they're showing off their mad skills, or entertaining you with jokes and attempt at humor with the hottest game they're streaming.
Oh, God.
Or pushing the boundaries of good taste and testing the platform's attire and clothing policy. However, the most popular trend of game watching these days involves virtual YouTubers, or VTubers. Their job is to entertain, which means being all cute, funny, angry, and all sorts of anime-friendly emotions while live streaming the most popular games out there, from shooters to horror titles. VTubers are represented by avatars created with programs like Live2D, portraying characters designed by online artists, which usually cost quite a good sum of money. Unlike regular live streamers, they're not bound by physical limitations, and thus able to keep their real-life identities a secret. Yes, VTubers can run the show either solo or with a dedicated team. How did this phenomenon begin? Well, there is no official history on how the VTuber movement started. You can argue that the path was paved by previous virtual entertainers such as Hatsune Miku in 2007 and Supersonico in 2010. Both these virtual performers were the natural evolution of J-pop idol culture. But in terms of coining the VTuber term and paving that pathway to a new kind of gaming career, it all began in 2016 with Kizuna Ai. Due to Kizuna Ai's massive popularity and output, she spurred the idea of specialized establishments to promote future VTubers, to make them better than the sum of their parts. These include companies like Hololive Production, V-Shoujo, and Niji Sanji. VTubers went really big thanks to the worldwide pandemic in 2020, as people were confined to their homes with not much to do. So what better way to entertain yourself than to watch cute and sexy anime characters interacting with you and playing your favorite video games through a new perspective?
Coco hates simps? No, I love simps!
Since we won't be seeing licensed anime characters doing that anytime soon, the next best thing is to watch a similar looking virtual avatar making funny noises and doing cute acts which end up immortalized into internet history.
Not better! Not better!
Why are VTubers insanely popular? Like we said, because they're cute anime girls doing awesome funny things.
I'm a guy. Thank you, whoever.
What? Performing adorable antics. And showcasing skillful play. They have global appeal. They provide escapism and fantasy, and they have high volumes of people interacting with them through easy-to-use interfaces on their respective platforms. Imagine having a virtual celebrity you can meet up and talk to every week via a chat room. True, VTubers have their fair share of drama in the gaming industry behind the scenes, and we know that there's a person or two behind the VTuber playing up a persona, mostly. But that's the nature of show business. It's still looking really healthy to this day. As for the future of VTubers, here's what an up-and-comer Malaysian VTuber named Makcik Simmer has to say.
The thing is with VTubing in Malaysia, right? It's fairly new. Okay, I think it really boomed during the COVID era. You know, when everyone was stuck at home, not knowing what to do. So I think Malaysians are just getting started. I think this industry can go further if, let's say, we put in a little bit more effort in coordinating and making sure that we do it properly, because I see that more and more Malaysian streamers are really making a name in the streaming industry. Like, they're all getting partnered on Twitch. And not only that, they're being signed up by these VTubing companies around the world. And on top of that, local ACG events, they are also starting to look at local streamers as well. Like recently, I was featured in Animangaki. And not me alone, but there were over 70 other local VTubers that was featured. And that was like an amazing opportunity for local VTubers to let their names out there. People are starting to love the fact that there's a lot of VTubers getting known in Malaysia, and people are happy, you know, whenever they get to meet the VTubers that they are watching.
As long as people want to watch cute virtual anime girls play video games and make posts and memes out of their live streams, there is always going to be an audience for these adorable gremlins.
Now that's quite a look at the world of VTubers. I have to say, they can get quite loud.
That's just the nature of anime girls made virtual and sort of real. But after watching that, I do have to ask you, who was your favourite VTuber from that segment? Are there any that you might be tuning into perhaps after this?
Well, I personally haven't seen full live stream from these VTubers, but I do check out Twitter and YouTube a lot. So yes, I have come across a lot of these VTube funny clips and nonsense postings. I do like Inugami Korone and her video game streams clips, and also Kiryu Koko's mastery of the English language before she graduated. Okay, wait, that term graduate is confusing. Do they actually have to go to VTuber college or something?
Well, when a VTuber quote-unquote graduates, it usually signifies the end of their career. Sometimes it is used to describe a VTuber leaving their agency like HoloLive, while other times it's used to describe a sort of retirement.
And in case you were wondering, yes, these VTubers are so popular that there are not one, but two video games made featuring these anime gaming girls. I'll let you go into details here, Luis.
Alright, here we go. One is a 2D bullet heaven action game called HoloCure, where each VTuber can be controlled on a 2D plane and must survive a wave of rabid fans coming after them. The VTubers can defend themselves with their special attacks. Gorgura, for example, has a special trident attack that pierces horizontally, while Amelia Watson has a gun and a time bubble. The other is a 2D fighting game called Idol Showdown, which Each HoloLive VTuber is a fighting game character with their own moves and special skills. Inugami Kurone is an all-round character, while Kiryu Koko likes to get up close and personal with her grab moves, much like her virtual persona.
And the best part? These games are free to download and play on PC. They are fan games, but they do play well and are solidly made with love and care for the subject matter.
And just a heads up, we will be revisiting live streamers and whether it's a viable career in the field of gaming in a future episode, so stay tuned.
All right, so for now, let's cut to commercial as we prepare our next gaming segment, which is sure to be more vocal than usual. Stick around, gaming fans. Welcome back. Okay, so video games are turning more and more story-driven and cinematic throughout the ages. With high production values comes audio and voice work. Here's a segment about our local voice actor talent in video games.
Video games have evolved beyond just gameplay and a high score system. Many titles these days have a ton of story elements to them, be it as window dressing or being integral to the gameplay.
Such thinking is very unbecoming of a summoner.
Naturally, voice acting in games plays a huge role in giving titles a personality and X factor to make them stand out among their peers.
You don't have a reservation.
The earliest example of these include the late 80s TurboGrafx CD game Last Alert.
Hey, the stealth bomber is in the back of this factory!
Okay, bad example. Good ones include Duke Nukem 3D and Diablo, where the voice acting is so top-notch and adhere to the tone and feel of the game that it's etched into your mind palace for eternity.
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
We've gone through a huge number of generations in gaming, to the point where full-on voice acting in games and their respective narratives are given proper treatment and feature high production values, whether they're in English, Japanese, or even both. Some of these top-tier voice actors are from our own backyard, like Suling Chan of Honkai Star Rail fame, Stephen Bones from last season's highlighted action game No Straight Roads, and Azman Zulkifli, who voiced one of the main playable characters' selectable voices in Wolong. How did they get into this line of work? Let's ask them.
I actually did an audition way back in 2012 for this Malaysian game called Hoodwink, and I was working with a studio. At that time, it was ImagineX. I did a couple of commercials with them, like IKEA commercial, Pepsi commercial, and so they wanted a young, vibrant voice, and they knew I really loved video games and animation, and they asked me to audition for it. And so I auditioned for it, and then after that, yeah, that's how I got my first video game role.
I mean, it started way back when I was young. I absorb a lot of cartoons, so it's naturally for me as a kid to try and mimic all these cartoon characters. I actually taught animation at Multimedia University in Cyberjaya, and I was actually in the middle of undergoing my master's degree, so I thought of writing about voice acting, the voice acting industry in Malaysia, and I discovered Voice Guild Malaysia. At that time, they were called the Voice Guild of Kuala Lumpur and Selangor. So I actually thought I wanted to contact a few voiceover persons from there, voiceover artists. I ended up joining it.
As a kid, I would tell people that I was raised by the television, so I was watching a lot of cartoons, and back then we couldn't skip the ads, so I would copy everything I hear on the TV. And one thing led to another. I never knew that would become a skill that I would be training for a kind of job. And when I got older, studied audio engineering, and then somehow managed to find out about the voiceover industry and the commercial industry. That's kind of how I got started.
Voice acting in games is very different compared to voicing animated shows and series. Here's how.
In fact, I think video games is a lot more challenging because for animation, especially if you're doing prelay, which basically means that they animate to your voice, you just act out the script. and you don't have to worry about anything. For video games, you've got to worry about timing. Like in Honkai Star Rail, they actually use AI technology to help with the mouth flaps, so we don't actually have to dub. But for other video game work like Path to Nowhere, I actually have to hear the Mandarin voiceover first and then match the pacing and the timing so that when they put it into the game, it matches. And in other video games, I have to dub. I actually have to match the mouth flaps and stuff like that.
Voice acting in gaming is also quite an undertaking and isn't as easy as you would think.
One of the biggest challenges would be, trying to go full-time with this kind of work. Because right off the bat, nobody knows you. You don't know like what you're good at. There's not exactly a lot of classes for this kind of job. So getting started is pretty hard. But once you're able to break through and get in and establish yourself, then, I have my dream job. What more can I say?
And for anyone watching who is interested in getting into this line of work, well, we have some top-tier advice for you.
To start out in this voice acting industry, for me at least, I started with a whole bunch of curiosity. I'm curious about how it works in the studio. So if you have that sort of curiosity, and if you have like something to record with, if you want to make content out of it, go ahead, try out. It's just a matter of starting. Find out the people who did this, and if there are some opportunities for you to meet these people, I would say meet them, ask questions, and I think that's how I got myself started.
In addition, there is a Discord server for budding voice actors from Malaysia and Singapore to check out, run by Suling Chan and another Malaysian voice actor talent named Michelle Tan.
We have people of all sorts of levels there. We do run workshops. We always post casting calls, so you can see casting calls and try to audition for them and things like that.
All in all, the next time you're playing a AAA title or an indie gem in the future, there's a good chance one of your fellow Malaysians had a hand in doing the voice work.
Wow, I didn't know that we had this much talent in video game voice acting. Hats off to Suling Chan, Stephen Bones and Azman Zulkifli for making our country proud with your VO skills.
I may not be a purveyor of Hoyoverse games. That honour goes to our voice guy Jonathan, but I appreciate the work VOs put in both English and Japanese dubs of their games like Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact.
What about yourself, Luis? Are there any voices in gaming you love and appreciate?
Well, some may call me vanilla, but I am a big fan of the voice work done in Metal Gear Solid. The ever-iconic David Hayter, who plays both Solid and Naked Snake, has such a crisp and recognizable voice that has been etched into my memory from an early age. But we'll talk about him a little bit later, as he may or may not be coming to Malaysia this September.
Ooh, foreshadowing, I see. But unfortunately, I can't say I share the same nostalgia for the franchise. But I do love Nintendo's simple approach to voice work with their all-ages games. In a Mario game, I can expect cute sounds. In a title like Splatoon, I can expect a mix of made-up Japanese-sounding voices with high reverb, so it all sounds like it's coming from underwater. It is a game featuring squids that transforms into kids, so I think that effect is appropriate.
My colleague Zandria also had the pleasure of interviewing Anjali Bhimani, who has become a household name for Southern Asian talent in the gaming space. She's most synonymous for voicing Overwatch's tech wizard Symmetra and Apex Legends' minigun-wielding Rampart. She's done an amazing job at being an icon that can represent an entire region of talent, and I know that the Malaysian voice artists we spoke to will also do the same.
And keep in mind, viewers, that there are a lot more answers and insights from our interviewees, Suling Chan, Stephen Bones and Azman Zulkifli. Do you have the links, Luis?
Yes, I do. If you want the full interviews for each of these top-tier talent, you can head down to our YouTube channel, Kakuchopurei, to check it out.
There's a lot of more gaming voice-over action going on in our next segment, so don't go anywhere, viewers. We'll be right back after these commercials. Welcome back. Now that we've talked to the best in the voice acting businesses in Malaysia, it's time to look back at how voice acting in video games eventually became huge.
In the previous segment, we talked about our local voiceover talents in gaming. Now we'll be doing a short tribute to the voice actors in the gaming industry as a whole who paved the way for the future in a worldwide scale. Take it away, Jonathan.
As we've said in the previous segment, voice acting is important in most games, if not all. When done well and with great direction, it adds flavor and character. Otherwise, you'll get
Chairman Steve of the Duo Foundation.
Die, monster! You don't belong in this world!
This segment is to celebrate the many voice actors from past generations who helped pave the way for many others to take on this illustrious career choice. Arguably, the most influential person back in the 90s is John St. John, the de facto voice of Duke Nukem in Duke Nukem 3D.
It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum.
His delivery of his machismo lines are just what the doctor ordered, in a game where you're a buff dude who has a ton of guns, fending off aliens in comical and over-the-top fashion.
I ain't afraid of no Quake.
True, a number of Duke's lines are ripped off from old B-movies and action flicks, but it's a great way to open up the then-young gaming audience to classic films.
Don't have time to play with myself.
Next up in the alumni list of best voice actors to look up to is Nolan North, aka the voice of 100 HD-era heroes. From Desmond Miles in the Assassin's Creed series,
You really think this will work? That I'll become an assassin?
to Nathan Drake in the Uncharted series.
Buka Pintu!
He's a hell of a versatile worker whom you've probably heard one too many times in the games from 2005 onward.
Haha! There we go. Now we're talking.
Jennifer Hale is also another prominent video game voice, though she's arguably more popular in the animation world. Her claim to video game fame is playing the female version of Captain Shepard in the Mass Effect trilogy. Her voice work and performance is so memorable and iconic, she is basically made canon in the main Mass Effect timeline.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite store on the Citadel.
Who could forget the voice of Mario in Super Mario 64 onward back in the late 90s?
It's me, Mario!
The iconic vocal works of the red and blue plumber Turtle Killer is courtesy of Charles Martinet, who also voices Luigi, Wario, and Waluigi in subsequent Mario games up until 2023. While he's not doing voice work anymore, he is now the Mario ambassador for Nintendo, letting other VO talents like Kevin Afghani take over the landmark voice roles. Last but not least, who could forget the works of one David Hayter back in the late 90s, when he voiced iconic video game character Solid Snake from the Metal Gear series.
Deep Throat, the informant from the Watergate scandal.
In fact, he'll be setting foot onto Malaysia for the first time to greet his loyal fans on the 28th and 29th September at Asia PopCon 2024.
Kept you waiting, huh? I heard the food and the hospitality is very good, and that Malaysia is truly Asia.
These are the legendary voice actors who helped make video game voiceover work a viable career path for many to follow, paving the way for bigger, better, and brighter stars for a glowing game audio voice work-filled future.
And that was quite a segment on awesome voice actors from around the world who helped make video game voice work great.
That's right. While voice acting in gaming has been around since the 90s, it only became more professional and important when big names like Jennifer Hale and Nolan North started voicing in more video games.
Speaking of big names in voice acting, how about David Hayter you mentioned earlier? He's coming down to Malaysia this September, right?
Yes, he will be. And to recap, the iconic voice of Metal Gear's Solid and Naked Snake will be making his debut appearance in Malaysia on the 28th and 29th of September at Asia PopCon 2024, and we'll be giving away tickets to the upcoming show so you can get a chance to meet the star in person.
Okay, but you know you have to do something, and all you have to do is answer the following question. The question is, Asian voice actors featured in this episode of Main Game. Okay, I'm going to repeat this again, okay? Who are the Malaysian voice actors featured in this episode of Main Game? Okay, so what you have to do is you can send your answers over on Kakuchopurei's Facebook and Instagram page, and there you will find more details regarding the giveaway.
And that is it for the show that spotlights the virtual and the vocal. Stay tuned to Main Game for more contests like these. As for upcoming gaming contests, we'll be talking more about the latest in careers and video games. Until then, thank you for tuning in. I'm your co-host Lewis Larkham.
And I'm your host Ifa Hazim signing off. Do support your local voice acting talent of gaming or otherwise. Bye-bye.